Hi everybody, this is Osprey from MyChartCoach.com and in this video we're going to look at more stocks that were in play today. So first up, we're going to take a look at UGAZ, 3 times long natural gas. Yeah, just keep an eye on this. It closed up 6% today. It had been really beaten down. Check out this chart. It's in a big downtrend, closed below that middle Bollinger Band. Had been riding EMA4, that's the pink line, currently at 54.37 lower for multiple days. And then today it finally closed above that level. So it's the first close above EMA4 since back here on January 30th. So keep an eye on it. It could be the possible start of a bullish change in trend. We'll see. It has to get above EMA 8 at 56.38 to continue heading higher. Okay, take a look at Gbtc. This is a Bitcoin investment trust. It tracks Bitcoin's movement, and so it's been heating up with RSI at 57. You have Fasto up here at 96, back in the overbought power zone, and so the big thing here is it's been turning the middle Bollinger Band into support. Had a close above that level on Wednesday of last week, and then today it's hitting that 50-day simple moving average at 20.37. So going forward above the 50-day simple moving average will signal more upside potential. If it fails to break that 20 resistance zone, it could pull back and test that EMA4 at 821 support level. As long as the middle Bollinger Band down here at 1584 is holding, this new uptrend should continue. It just has to bust through that 50-day simple moving average, that $20 level, to head higher. Okay, take a look at OREX, closed up at 98 cents today, up 18%. Yeah, so this has been in a very strong downtrend, and there was a bounce today. Once again, the stock was riding the pink line lower, EMA4, and today it finally closed above. The last close above EMA4. These were right at that level. You have to go back here into January for the last close above the pink line, and so when you have multiple days, multiple weeks in a row where they're not letting it close above EMA4 resistance, and then they finally do, that's a change in trend, and so that captures your attention, and then you need to see if it can follow through. And so going forward, it has to hold that EMA4 at 90 support level. If it pulls, drops below, that'll signal it's no longer in play, and now to head higher, it has to get above the middle Bollinger Band at 101. If it can close above that level and turn into support, it could finally head higher and run up to that 50-day simple moving average. As you can see here, it's been failing to break that middle Bollinger Band. That's a huge resistance level, and so if it fails to break, that'll just be the continuation of the previous pattern. If there's a close above the middle Bollinger Band, that would be a bullish change in trend, signaling more upside potential. The middle Bollinger Band would have to hold after a close above. Okay, take a look at DPW. Okay, so yeah, this stock had a very nice close today. It just formed a doji, and it's an indecision candle. It had a very tight trading range today, but the close above the middle Bollinger Band, currently at 186, the dotted purple line, and the 100-day simple moving average at 187, that is signaling the possible start of a new uptrend. If it can stay above this level, stay above that 187 level, that's gonna be very bullish, and you will be looking for a potential run up here to this upper Bollinger Band at 248 and 50-day simple moving average at 287. If it can stay above that middle Bollinger Band, that should signal the start of a new uptrend. If it drops below and you see it drop back below 180, it'll no longer be in play. That would make it a risk to hold. Okay, if you look here at LGCY, made a very strong move today. As you can see here, it closed above high close horizontal resistance. Okay, that was the closing price on this candle right here, and so the close above does signal more upside potential. It needs to hold that 250 level and turn it into support, and if it does, then it could break out to the next level. It had been trading in the sideways channel. This is the top of the channel, and so it's trying to bust through that and head to the next level. If you look here at the weekly chart for LGCY, you can see it's breaking out, okay, above the key resistance level from a couple of weeks ago, and then because each candle on this chart is a weekly chart, and then it's hitting the key resistance from January of 2017, that 250 resistance zone. If it can close above that level for a week, then that would signal more upside potential, and you can see it run up to the 3 resistance zone. The high close from back here in 2016, April 2016 at 310 would be the target if it can turn 250 into support. Okay, so this is is a really big resistance zone for LGCY. If it can break out above, that would be extremely bullish. Keep in mind that this week's candle will not set until the closing bell on Friday. Okay, let's look at ZN. Okay, so this is an energy sector stock, and so it closed today above high close horizontal resistance. You know, it formed this big white candle, a flagpole, and then a flag was formed off of this pole, and then you've got this. Yeah, so you have basically a flag off of here, and then you've got the breakout above. And so the close today above the closing price on the 14th is signaling more upside potential. You know, it needs to stay above that 435 level, turn that into support, and hold EMA 4 at 412. If those levels hold, it should push higher. A drop below EMA 4 would signal the run is cooling down. That close above high close resistance does signal that it wants to keep pushing higher. Notice this week's candle is floating above the upper Bollinger Band down here at 382. The next key level to break is the $5 level from back here in July of 2017. If it can get above that, then this June, or maybe what is this, first week of July 2017, basically just below $6 level would be on deck. So it's pushing higher here. It's got a really nice move. Check out the big volume spike last week. So huge volume last week. This week's candle will not set until the closing bell on Friday. Okay, take a look at SDRL. Yeah, it's above 50 on RSI. So the big move on this chart is the close today above the green and dotted purple lines. It closed above the middle Bollinger Band and the 50-day simple moving average. So if it stays above 26, that's going to be bullish. It would signal the possible start of a new uptrend. The big level to break above is that 100-day simple moving average at 287. Notice it hit that level last time in January and failed to break and consolidated. So if it can run up to that level and close above, that could be a bullish change in trend. Okay, look at ONTX. Yeah, so this had a nice bounce today. It came down. It's been in the strong downtrend after closing below the middle Bollinger Band on the 22nd of January. It got below the 50-day simple moving average on the 29th, and then it's just been cruising below EMA 4. It finally closed above EMA 4 on the 13th and got a little sideways pattern going, and then today, boom, it finally had the pop that the bulls were looking for. It closed above EMAs 4, 8, and 13, and so the orange line there, EMA 13 at 117 is the key level to hold. It needs to get above that middle Bollinger Band at 127. If it can get above that level, it could get a new uptrend going. If it fails to break that level when tested, it would signal a temporary top. Above the middle Bollinger Band is the 50-day simple moving average at 145. That will be a big level to break. Notice there was a little spike in volume today for this thinly traded stock. Okay, take a look at TRXC. Okay, so this is another one of those bounce plays. Very similar to the last chart where it got going. Below EMA 4. It came down here and it hit this 200 and 300-day simple moving average support zone. The blue line's the 300, the red line's the 200 SMA, and then today it bounced off of those levels and then it closed above EMA 13 at 148. So the close above the orange line was bullish. The last close above that level was back here on the 23rd of January. So that is a big change in trend. If you see it above the middle Bollinger Band at 159, that would be bullish, and it could possibly get an upturn going. If you notice the last couple of times that it got above, for the last couple of months, each time it gets above the middle Bollinger Band, it fails to hold and pulls back. So keep that in mind. You have to anticipate that happening again, but keep an eye out for a bullish change in trend. If it closes above the middle Bollinger Band and you see two white candles in a row, two closes in a row above that level, that would be a bullish change in trend. Notice how it was a black candle closed above and then a red candle, a white candle closed above and then a red candle, white candle closed above, red candle, white candle above, red candle. So if you see a white candle and a white candle, that would be a nice change in trend. Okay, so AVGR, check it out. Now, same pattern. All right, so for this hasn't really bounced yet. It's trying to bounce right now. So it dropped below the middle Bollinger Band. It's riding EMA 4 resistance really hard. It had this big gap on the chart. So it was if things weren't bad enough, they got worse last week. I don't mean to laugh because it's not funny when nobody likes to see people losing money. And yeah, it came down here and it had that big gap down, and just like, you know, they just crushed this thing. I'm not sure why. I don't know the story behind it, but it finally formed the white candle today. Notice that it did have the big volume spike last week, that giant volume spike. That's what we call the load. Bounce players trying to load at the bottom. It did drop a little bit lower, but today it's bouncing. Bullish Haremy reversal pattern formed. It has to get above EMA 4 at 173. That would be the first level to break. And then it's always the bottom of the gap level is a big resistance level. So it's 173 and then the bottom of this gap. And if it gets above the bottom of the gap, it could run up to the top of the gap, which is the bottom of this candle, and EMA 8 at 250. Okay, finally in this video, last chart, SITO. Keep an eye on it. You know, same type of pattern. You know, big pullback. You know, it's trying to bounce off the bottom. Today it closed above EMA's 4, 8, and 13. First close above the orange line since back here when it was in an uptrend. So you know, it's been several weeks, multiple, you know, many days since it closed above the orange line. So that's a bullish change in trend. It had big volume down at the bottom for this thinly traded stock. So these are all things that you look for it heating up. Now, if it can stay above $5, it will be in play. Now, it has to break above that 550 resistance zone. There's the 200-day simple moving average. It's the red line, and the purple, or you know, the dotted purple line is the 20-day simple moving average. This is the middle Bollinger Band. If it can get above both those levels, it could get a new uptrend going and possibly run back up to that 50-day simple moving average. Failed to break those levels when tested would signal a temporary top or the, you know, the top of the bounce. You know, for stocks that are in a big downtrend and then you get a bounce like this, it's just a short cover rally until they get above that middle Bollinger Band and get a new uptrend going. Okay, if you'd like to learn more about charts and technical analysis, please check out our chat. I will post the link below the YouTube video. Okay, thank you.